Hello, welcome to my channel Conscious Growing, and I'm Matthias. And in this video I want to talk about the nature of the mind. And if you're dealing with chronic symptoms, anxiety and so on, you already heard about that the mindset is really important. Mindset matters most, so you have to get out of your own thinking and behavior patterns. And easier said than done in most cases, because this nature of the mind, this pattern of being easily worried, is so old. And in most cases, it leads us back to our childhood, where we build up these protective mechanisms and, of course, behaviors and especially thought patterns. And this is mainly related to worries. So we start to worry, and it can show up in being worried about the parents, the caregivers, the friends, then later on the partners, the children, the people around us. And then in a huger amount, the worry about the global situation, worry about the pandemic, worry about wars. And this worry can bring us to a very sensitized state, this ongoing worry. And for most of us, it happens that we have these worries all our lives, through all our lives, but we think it's normal. We think it's part of it, or we don't even reflect about it. It just is. And we sit there and everything is a threat. And this can cause sensitization in the system, because we're always on alert, maybe for years and even decades, if we assume that it's started in childhood. And it depends how old you are while you're listening. And so this became a life pattern. And then what usually happens at a certain point, the nervous system starts to knock from within. It knocks and says, hey, too much worry from here to here. I have enough, I'm overwhelmed. You should have more, you should have a better mindset. And then usually when we got the first symptoms, for some it might be some gut issues or headaches, or some people start to have heart palpitations. But this is just a sign of the nervous system to say, hey, too much worry, too much heavy and negative information you're giving to me. I'm overwhelmed, I can't cope with this. So I send you some symptoms. Because when you are worried all the time without realizing it, I'm here to protect you. So I'm knocking and I give some mild symptoms at first. And if you don't listen, and in most cases we don't listen, we think, oh, there's something going on, but okay, I will keep going, this will pass. But we stay in this kind of inner stress, this avoiding to feel this unpleasant stuff, also avoiding to slow down a little bit at that point. usually we keep going. So the nervous system has no other choice than to bring more intense symptoms. And for some people, it might lead to feeling so exhausted and so kicked out of life that they start to be bedbound. They can't get up anymore. So it was in my case. And usually when this happens, there's a last event. And this last event can be a virus, like it was in my case, and for many others out there, or it could also be the loss of a loved one. However, we fell over this cliff, so to speak, and we reached this threshold in our nervous system. We ignored the warnings, and therefore we are in this sensitized state now. So the nervous system doesn't want anything other than to be regulated again. And the nervous system works flawlessly, always, always. It just has to do with the interaction between our thoughts, our patterns, and of course, when we slow down, when we calm down, when we give less importance to our thoughts and thinking patterns, this system will regulate. But we have to do this in a job. And first of all, it's very important to understand these mechanisms. Because if we don't understand this mechanism, then we always think, it could be this and that, and maybe I should have another checkup, or let's check this new method, start to practice some new programs, and so on and so on. And of course, they most in nowadays there are enough programs out there who tackle this aspect of a hypersensitive nervous system, and that is good in a way. But then it's also important to understand the pattern behind the way these things go. And so I want to encourage you just to have a look on your worried thoughts, because the thing is, if you have been worried about many things all through your life, now when you're in this sensitized state, now when you have this anxiety and fear, now when you feel this anger about it, now when you feel sensitized, you have a reason to be worried. And therefore, this old pattern keeps going. This old pattern is telling you, look, we have all these symptoms. And it makes this suggestion, and it says something about the future. Look, we have this for a month and even years now. And then we are worried, and then we have reasons to be more worried. And being worried keeps us in the cycle out of habit without realizing it, because feeling worry is so familiar. And we just repeat these old neural pathways. And it feels so real. The symptoms, they feel so real. And just to make it clear, these symptoms are real. The brain produces real physical symptoms. That's true. But in 90, I don't want to say, but in 98% of the cases, when you have been in this for a while, it's quite likely that it's just the brain and the nervous system. This is a good news. But we have to understand that the mind is in hyper alert now. The system is in hyper alert now. That means when you are so sensitized, all your thoughts have more value, or they feel more valuable, and you give them more meaning. Think, wow, I'm producing this kind of thoughts. What if I never recover? What if I get stuck in this mode? And then you are feeding these subconscious worries, and you just keep going and going and going and going. And as you might notice, these patterns are really strong. And then when you start to do this inner work and to start to be less reactive on these habitual thought patterns, out of nature, they get even louder. You start to pay less attention. You start to be a little bit more neutral, because in best case, you understand this mechanism I'm just talking about. And when you understand this mechanism, this is a huge step already, because with this knowledge you don't have to look left and right so much anymore. But still, it's a tough journey, because these neural pathways are still acting themselves out of habit. They have done it for a while. So they will keep going, and they will keep going to find the threats. And they're looking everywhere. And for some, it can start in the morning. You already feel the anxiety in your system and think, oh my God, this will be a horrible day today. Or I feel the symptoms already again. I can't, how will I be able to do certain things? Maybe I'm not even able to get up. These are the suggestions out of habit. And then you are worried in the moment you open your eyes and start your day. And also this can become a pattern. Then you have morning anxiety every day. But your brain, your subconscious is listening. It's waiting for a new reaction, a more neutral reaction on this. And then you start the work, and you start to be more neutral, and you start to make this little step towards life. But this mind pattern will continue for a while until you establish new behaviors and new thought patterns. And once again, I'm not talking about positive thinking. You can't think yourself out of it. But what you want to do is to react with less fear, more neutral, allowing these thoughts to come up, not to fight them, not to convince them that it's not necessary anymore on a mental level, but rather you want to show it, and you're showing it by giving it less attention, by not going down these rabbit holes as you have done in the past. And one of the main things is, can you cut down your worries? So when you see the principles of Claire Weeks, then one of her principles is don't add second fear. So this means there is this alarm, there is this symptom, there is this thought, there is this strong emotion maybe, and you don't have any influence on that. But what you have influence on is your reaction to the emotion, all the symptom. And if you start to stop your worrying about it, then you give less fuel to the fire. And these old habits, these old neural pathways will die down with time. But this needs consistency, patience with yourself, expecting these ups and downs. Because there is something in the system, in the nervous system, that's working behind the scenes. So every new reaction on your worries will be registered in the nervous system. I'm more neutral, I'm more calm, I don't react. And the subtle aspect on this is, and this happened to me for quite a while, was to the idea that I have to stand this. I'm holding myself together, and so let the symptoms come and let's stay neutral, and let's stand in the fire, so to speak. And I did it, but I was just still tensed. I was still in resistance. I was still thinking, oh, here's the roller coaster, and I go down this roller coaster. But, you know, like some people, they can sit on the roller coaster and just say, yeah, what a nice ride. And they just enjoy it, and their limbs are open, and they totally enjoy it. And some are so scared, they just tense up their shoulders, they're screaming, they make a fist, and so on and so on. So the whole system is tensed, and they go through this roller coaster ride. And so they are tensed while they have this ride, and also when they get out of the roller coaster. So for the nervous system, the information is, okay, there was a threat. We don't want to do this ever again, never again. And the first described person might jump back and wants to have a second ride, and is totally open in the system. And that's us. So what we are learning is to be okay with these uncomfortable feelings, with the sensations. And also on the physical level, we want to learn to fight less, to build up less physical resistance, and allowing ourselves to sag into these sensations again and again. You see, even while I'm talking about it, my shoulder was a little bit tensed, and I was able to drop the shoulder again. And this is also part of the process. So we learn to be more aware of our physical body. So what we can't do, we can't relax immediately, but what we can do is we can allow to drop the shoulders. We can allow ourselves to sag into these sensations. And again, this will give feedback to our nervous system that we are okay, that we are not fighting against it physically. And this needs many, many repetitions. But this is just a side note. So coming back to the main subject of this video is to say that identify your worries and learn to be okay with these uncomfortable sensations, more neutral. Allow them to be there. Don't fight them. Identify them. See, this is something familiar. I've done this for years already. And you have to see and understand that this mind pattern will continue. because this is its nature. It will take a while until it feels safe with you, with your new mindset, with your new behaviors. This will take some time. But the more you practice, the more you will rebuild these new patterns. And so, as I said, there's lots of things going on behind the scenes. And even if you have intense setbacks, there are nothing other than the opportunity to keep practicing. And if you can come to this point that your allowance is part of it and your new reactions on the threats the subconscious sees, the more you're balancing out again. And the periods of good moments will become more frequently, and you will be able to do more stuff again, and you will gain some trust back because you do this practice, and you will realize even on the tough days that there's something working for you, and you have a clear direction within yourself how to develop these new patterns. And what's very important to say is there's no point to try to fight with your mind. So don't go into a street fight with your own mind. Let these sensitized thoughts and fearful thoughts and worried thoughts be there. We can't I can't speak this word, sorry. We can't just kick them away. They are coming. The mind produces them, but we are able to respond differently. So some say it's learning to get out of your own way. So because being worried is involved, being worried is something very active. Being worried is also very exhausting. Have you noticed that? It's so exhausting. And the more we learn to say, okay, the worried thoughts can be there, but the main point is that I decide to not entertain them anymore. This is really the key. And so then they act themselves out. Yeah, we have chaos, we have storm, we have adrenaline, we have fears. There's a turmoil in this body, and it feels so intense and sometimes unbearable. But even with this, we stay neutral. No drop of fuel on the fire, again and again. But then also, as I said before, we don't want to tense up against it. We also want to learn to be as calm as possible physically, and recognizing when we build up this resistance, and just allow these energies to go through us. Because these energies, in most cases, the stress chemicals, they will always come to an end. But as long as we fight, as long as we worry about them, we keep them alive. And I know this is not easy to do, not at all. It needs lots of patience, lots of repetition. But if you continue doing this inner work, you will succeed at a certain point. There's no other way. There's no other way. It's just a matter of time. And don't be confused by setbacks. Setbacks are a good sign, because setback always means that you have done your work. So the old subconscious worried mechanisms, they try something new. They press some new buttons, or they become more intense just to test you. Is he really, or is she really in this new direction of non-reactivity, or is it just the old, are you like after, yeah, you're able to do this work for a couple of minutes or an hour, but if it doesn't leave you then, or if the symptoms are still there, and if you have these intense times all through the whole day, or even days, or sometimes even weeks, then you give up and say, oh no, this is not working. And then you see the old mindset comes back. The subconscious takes over, the amygdala takes over. We feel hijacked, and we lose the trust because it's not working immediately. But these are the most important moments, when it seems like there's no hope, when it seems like this never has an end. Then we have to continue to teach our brain, you can produce these fears and symptoms, but I'm still able to respond differently. I'm still able to continue my day, sometimes very slow but steady. And this shows, yes, you can be there. I don't fight against you, but also I'm not overwhelmed anymore, or at least less with time. So thank you for listening, and I hope that this is helpful for some of you. And I'm always happy and delighted to get some comments about it. What do you think about this content? And so if you're new to the channel, I have my content in German and English. And if you haven't done yet, please subscribe to the channel to help to spread this information, especially also in the German region, because this body-mind syndrome stuff, TMS stuff, is not very popular and well known, and I think it's very important that people understand that they have choices and they are not a victim of the situation. There is a way out through practice. So if you're interested in more support, and if these videos make some sense to you, but you still think, how can I manage it on my own? Of course it's tough, and of course it's helpful to have someone to take you by your hand when you have these curveballs, and when it becomes intense, and when you come off track a little bit. It can be very helpful to remind you to say, here, take this road, don't look left and right. So therefore I offer a 30-minute free call, and we can talk and discuss your situation, and I will make you some suggestions. And then if this fits, we can start working together, and everything will follow. So if you're interested in this, you can find my webpage in the description, and you just can write me a mail and there's a form, and you write a mail, and then I will come back to you. And for everyone else, keep going, and we talk soon.